the customer is always right, or sales 101, always agree with the customer. And I have a habit of knocking on traditional sales tactics that were used in the 80s. Perhaps the most famous book, did anybody read The Art of Selling? It was produced in the late 80s. The boomer generation loves that book. And the tactics definitely worked then, so I'm not going to dispute that. But some of the latest tactics actually don't just disprove the book, they're polar opposites. So when I say what my friend from high school had posted on Instagram, always side with the customer is always right. Tell me honestly, what do you think of that? In real estate, do you think that's true?
No. The customer is uninformed.
Okay. You said the customer is uninformed. What would garner more favor long-term with you and your sphere of influence or your client? Agreeing with them all the time or educating them on maybe some of their misconceptions?
I think it's about advising, but not being adversarial.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yeah,
Love that.
I was going to use the word both. I would say agree with them and educate them.
Yep. Okay. Love that. Does anyone know my team, Utah Cribs, our little slogan? Have any of you watched our little videos to our clientele? I have a signature sign-off. Does anyone know what it is? It's fine if you don't. It's okay if you don't watch my videos. So
you say essentially, we're here to inform you and help you make the best decision.
Yep.
Right?
I say we educate you so you can make an educated decision when it comes to your real estate. And that's the sign-off to all my videos. That kind of organically just became a signature sign-off for us. We've used it for some odd years now. It's the end of a lot of our blog posts. But what we're saying in essence is consumers nowadays, if you think about it, and we are no different as consumers in this room, we are predisposed to shop a certain way. Whether you think it or not, you are. How is that way? Well, the internet sped up consumerism so quick and also gave us all the information at our fingertips. This is irrespective of real estate. This is everything. So if you're going to buy an iPad Pro, your next laptop, you can find everything you would want to know really fast. We all know it operates this way now, right? That's not in dispute. What sort of is in dispute is what we should do with that information. So let me walk you down the path of how you're predisposed to shop. Everything's always on sale. You can have it right now, and you can likely know more than the salesperson that's going to sell it to you with just a little bit of research. So what has it done to our mentality as consumers? It's made us a little cocky, a little arrogant. Let's talk about millennial generation for a second. Boomers are often offended by the shopping habits of millennials because millennials' attitude is, well, not only do I not want to talk to anyone, I'm not going to talk to anyone or see them live until I'm forced to. I will likely know more about the product than they do. Who's going to sell it to me? So a bit of arrogance. Yet, how we consume in the United States certain products still forces you to often stand in front of the middleman or the salesperson or whatever. And lucky for us, real estate still has us staying in front of a person. But I'm going to give you a little faith here to reside on. Real estate is the one commodity I know of that does not operate like all other consumables. It's the only one. Give me some reasons why you think it might operate different. The way we buy real estate is different from everything else we consume. Why? There's lots of them. Ron?
Oh, I think like emotion.
Okay.
A lot more emotion.
A lot more emotion. It's a large purchase, right?
Negotiable.
It's negotiable. Okay. What else?
Well, what I always say is that every single day in real estate is a new day because so I'm not sure how to answer the question, but
Mhm.
You could wake up today and find out there was a death in the family. There's a new baby coming.
Sure.
There's changes. So we're dictated to make changes in real estate based on changes in life.
Yeah. It's complicated.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other factors in real estate that don't apply to everything else we consume. Let me give you some others. There's an escrow period. Okay? No two pieces of real estate are exactly like kind. So you're going to buy anything else, it's all about price and speed, right? You decide you want a new TV, you're going to research kind of what you want, you're going to know Costco has these 15, you're going to narrow it down to 1 or 2, you're going to know all that lightning fast, you're going to go, does Amazon have a better price than Costco? Prime, I can get it tomorrow. Costco, if I drive down there, I can get it today. Is that worth an extra $50 in price? You're going to make all these decisions super, super fast, and then you're going to be a little frustrated with a salesperson that would try to impede that process if they did. Oh, sir, what you shopping for? But it's like, get out of my way. I already know everything about this, right? But real estate doesn't operate that way. Here's the kicker, though, and this is what my class is about. We are predisposed to apply our consumer shopping habits as people, because we're so jaded in the way everything else works, to real estate. So you need, as a realtor, to fly under the assumption that your clients, and we're mainly speaking of buyer habits right now, but this applies to sellers as well, their predisposed habits, whether they know it or not, are going to be the habits they try to apply to buying real estate. When you understand this, you'll really be able to educate them and help them navigate. And I know we talk a lot in sales meetings about proving our value proposition. And I have sat in classes and seminars and been on executive boards and heard that phrase. And to be frank with you, it frustrates me because I'm like, you guys aren't in the thick of selling. We're the foot soldiers meeting with the client. And it's easy for an executive team to say, well, prove your value proposition. And then we're all in the room kind of like, well, what do I say, right? But if you understand the bigger picture of how your consumer's already predisposed to shop, and you come with informative information that truly helps them make a good decision when it comes to your real estate, their real estate, then you become really powerful. Then people don't say, I'll use you because I'm in your sphere of influence, I'll use you because you're my friend, but I could probably fill out the Repsy on my own. And all these things they're thinking about, all that goes away when you become the trusted advisor to your sphere, and they dare not buy real estate without your education and advice. Okay? So if I was to tell you, and I get this a lot, I spoke around the country and traveled, usually in one way, shape, or form, 2 or 3 people come up to me after and say this classic phrase, what's the one thing, if you could give me 30 seconds of advice, what's the one thing that's helped your career? For me, it's what we just walked through. I have built my career on educating my SOI that I know what I'm talking about, and it's the long tail approach to garner favor with your clients. My knack for doing that is via data and statistics, but that doesn't necessarily have to be your knack. Okay? So let's talk about some of those intricacies. And I have slides and pictures. When David gets it working, I'll show you, but I have it memorized well enough that we can just chat. And I will show you some tricks of the trade, how to gather information and get statistics quicker and easier. But it's probably even better that I don't have a computer screen up, because here is where I see 90% of realtors that I teach
if you want
fail.
that, if you got a
Perfect.
Chromecast, you got to use your.
Yep, nope, this is great. Here is where I see probably 90% fail when it comes to data gathering or statistics or whatever it may be. And this is going to sound crazy to you and too simple and elementary, so you'll say, why do people fail here? It's that people want to know the technicalities of diving into data. How do I get that information out of the MLS? How do I build a spreadsheet? How do I really convince this really smart developer that he needs to list all these townhomes for $350 and not $400? And they dive right into data gathering. I'm here to tell you that you can probably pay somebody a small hourly amount to gather data, or you could learn it yourself. That part's not that complicated. The art form is what's difficult. And what I mean by art form, it's before you even look at numbers, you got to stand back and say, what's my point and what am I trying to prove? Okay? And this presentation will go over what I call the 3 Ps. What's my point? What am I trying to prove? And you'll learn the third one as we go on. So if there's one thing you can take today with you, it's that if you're about to try to gather information to prove to a customer that the market's going up, the market's going down, you should lower your list price, Mr. Buyer, you should hurry and make an offer, this one's priced fair, don't think about it over the weekend, it's going to sell today. All those things that we like to say, it comes off to your customer much more powerful if while saying it to them, you can also prove it to them with data and information. But before you dive in to waste your own time gathering the data, step back, take a breath, and ask yourself, what am I trying to prove and how am I going to paint this picture? And you've heard this about statistics. Regardless of your point, there is likely data to back whatever you want to prove. There's always opposing sides. When I talk stats, people are always like, how can you tell a seller it's the perfect time to sell and then turn around and tell a buyer they should hurry and buy? They're like opposing theories. I'll show you how. Okay? And you'll be like, how do you do that? You can prove both at the same time and it's not made up. It's not snake oil. But the number one kind of roadblock I've seen people get into is they go, okay, I got it. And they get down into the nitty gritty, the MLS or how to build a spreadsheet. And then they've wasted 2 or 3 hours. They're frustrated and they're like, but I think I have the info, but I need Jake to paint the picture for me. So the art form is painting the picture. Let me show you now and spend the rest of our time in real live examples of how I've done this. I hope you like it because when I sit in classes or seminars or things I've done and I'm being instructed, for me, it's smoke and mirrors when it comes from someone who's not actively selling right now and doing what I'm doing. And it's also smoke and mirrors to me when they just talk about it and don't actually show me what they're doing in their business. I will show you exactly what we do to do the kind of business we do. So, you guys already know things like that. Here's some of the projects we've recently done over the last 3 years in Salt Lake. These are slides from a national class that I teach for Berkshire, so some of you guys don't need to hear any of this. That's kind of what we just went over. All right. Let's start off by asking probably the most frequent question you get from your sphere of influence. They may not phrase it this way, but this question is your number one opportunity to take the long tail approach to garnering a phenomenal sphere of influence-based business over a decade. And it's the way in which you answer the question, how's the market? Or how's business for you lately? Or at a dinner party, what you been up to? Wink, wink, they're saying, how's real estate? And it's very easy to talk about in an unsolicited manner. Pete, you've been at it a long time. You find that to be true?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like your sphere, you don't have to go around handing out your business card. Right? You show up to family whatevers, friend whatevers, and people know, hey, it's Pete, he does real estate. Right?
For the most part, I hope.
Yeah. And they're going, I'm sure if you're like me, you probably get this in one way, shape, or form at least once a week. Someone asking, hey, what's the latest? Or how's the market? So a few of you, throw out your answers for me. What's your 30-second or less elevator pitch on how's the market?
According to CNBC this morning, the rates are 4.1%. The 30-year average is 4.1%, which is really good.
Okay, let's throw some rate in there.
Just trying to say, it's kind of a loaded question. Tell me what you're trying to do in the real estate market.
Love it.
Depends on what you're looking for.
Okay, great.
Like maybe start with thanks for asking, and then like what is your question, or what are, like she said, what are you looking for?
You guys are smarter than
Opportunity to talk to them.
you guys are smarter than when I teach this nationally. Perfect. Sprinkle some data in there, but ask the question. Well, really, it's a super opportunistic market for both buyers and sellers. I mean, why do you ask? That's a little more professional way to say it. If I'm talking to like my buddies, I'm just like, why do you ask? Right? Because we kind of got to find out before we're going to give them data or fire hose them with it. What are you trying to do? If they're just in general, oh, I'm just curious, then it's an opportunity for you to establish yourself as an expert with kind of just, and I'll tell you how I do that. But if they're actually asking because they might be buying or selling or investing, you kind of need to know that, because your answer is going to come off way better when you tailor the data you're about to give them with what they want to do. Okay? So Debbie DeGroat, she's the owner and founder of Exilium Life Coaching. She broke off of Tom Ferry. She's the preferred coach for Berkshire Hathaway nationally. I have found, although she's not as popular as the Ferries or Buffinis or whoever's, I have found her information to be much more valuable because she's boots on the ground like us. She was a top-selling realtor for a long, long time. Her husband's still actively licensed, and she answers this question in a similar way I phrased it. It's a very opportunistic market. Why do you ask? And she has a really eloquent way of putting that. Okay, so once you've established that they're likely one of three categories, they're either just small chatting with you, still an opportunity for you to garner a real client into your SOI that says, I can't operate without Eric because of the way he answered that question. 2, they're a buyer or buyer on the horizon, or 3, they're a seller. Then you have an opportunity to tailor the information. Once I've found that out, and it's as simple as just asking, it really is so easy, then I'll kind of tailor my answer. So if I find out that they are about to sell, I may ask 1 or 2 other probing questions, or I may, if they're in my sphere, already know where they live, and in my mind I'm calculating roughly, based on area, what their house might be worth. I have no other way to tell you how to do this other than you're all local market experts. You just kind of, over time, get a pretty good idea of what's worth what where. Let me tell you why this is important. I'm going to go right back to the first thing I said when we walked in. 80s book, Art of Selling, always side with the customer. Now we know they're predisposed to shop a certain way. I'm going to do a total 180 on what that book used to teach and say that disagreeing with your customer in real estate in a very polite manner is one of the best ways you establish yourself as an expert. Here is how I would do that in this market if I found out somebody was small chatting me, but they might be a seller soon or in the next year. If I found out they live right over here, that's probably 70% of my sphere is East Side Salt Lake. I know roughly, we're probably talking, even if I don't have their address memorized and I haven't comped their house, maybe 650 on the low to 1.5 on the high if they're in the Cove, right? I mean, I kind of know that in the back of my mind. So if I found that out in a series of a couple questions, and we're 60 seconds into this conversation, I have an opportunity to sprinkle the smoke and mirrors sales lingo we get from most conventions, which is, oh, here's my business card, and I'm with Berkshire Hathaway, and we're the best brokerage, and blah, 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 blah. And that's not bad. But here's the way I would do it. I'm going to probably disagree with this person in the next 2 minutes, but establish my dominance and show that I'm an expert at what I do. So they're going to say, oh, how's the market? Oh, why? Oh, we might be thinking of selling next year, but we really don't know. Oh, serious? Why? oh, job change in California, or we just want to upgrade, or whatever it might be. And then this is how it naturally goes, guys. Without you even probing them, they're going to say something like, oh, we've heard how up the market is, and we're just waiting for the right time. I mean, we'll sell at the peak. I mean, it's usually something like that, right? And then you can just sit there, really, you can remain silent, and at some point they're going to say, well, what's your opinion? I've heard the market, we command the best price in June, or it's been up, but from what I've read lately, it's still just going up. But there was this one national article that said it's going down, and then they're all discombobulated. And I come to the table and go, well, what you read in the media, the sayings about news, and, don't even believe half of what you read. And I said, but, here's my statistical take. We've got a tell of two markets going on right now. On one hand, from what I've experienced, and I can show you the numbers, everything under kind of 450 is still, if priced right, getting multiple offers. It's moving real fast. Springtime tends to sell double the amount of units that the prior winter did. This spring is no exception. But there's also kind of rumblings that appreciation is slowing down. And I can back this up. I'll email you a report that probably the best data source for real information in our market is the economist James Wood. He advises for Spence Eccles. I throw in some names like that. Oh, wow, Jake's staying up on the market. And this is just elevator chat before we even send them data. And I'll go, but back to that tell of two markets. Not knocking on your house. You have a gorgeous house, but in your price range, it's actually been softening, and I can even show you how it's been statistically declining since last September. And then they're like, oh, crap. You are the only person to say that. And you're actually disagreeing with what they want to hear. I have won more business in my career or established myself as an expert and won a lifelong client doing little things like that than any sort of whiz-bang social media, marketing, whatever program you could ever come up with. And unfortunately, it's the long tail approach of establishing dominance with your SOI. So this takes 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. But when you get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people that say, Pete's my guy, I will not do real estate without him, and they're constantly referring you out, and the statistics, oftentimes that's the wives, not the husbands. Soccer moms, you know how to choose them, who are great referral sources. When you establish that expertise with people, and it's done the opposite way of which it was done in the 80s, not agreeing with the customer, but eloquently educating them on how what they've read is wrong and how what's really going on, you don't need to shove business cards in front of them. You don't need to get, have signed agreements. You don't need to continually market to them. They will dare not make some of the biggest financial decisions of their lives without you telling them. Now, if that's the premise, if that's what you're constantly trying to do to establish expertise with your sphere of influence, what are all the other things you can do in your entire business life, marketing-wise, to foster that expertise? What do you email out to people or send in print mail or door knock and give to people to give the same message of, I'm your local expert, I'm the person, I know what I'm talking about, come to me regardless of your real estate needs. Sure, if it's a commission, I'm going to sign the paperwork and help you. But if it's just a question, I'm going to answer it because I'm your realtor for life, not just for your next listing. What are the things I do to continue to add to that? Well, I'll show you. You're all very familiar with this report. This is the one that they upload to Resource Center. You can also get it in print from marketing. We do it once a quarter. I provide all the data that goes into that report for all of our offices, and then marketing makes it look pretty. This is tailored to the consumer, so we could put a lot more information in this quarterly report, but it's probably the cleanest, prettiest, easiest way that's already done for you to give local market information, and it extracts single family from townhomes from condos, so you can speak a bit eloquently if you're sending this out and people are asking you questions about it. There's all types of personalities in real estate. Some of the best sales folk truly don't possess the capability to be good with data or build a spreadsheet. And I'm here to tell you that's 100% okay, and it does not matter. Trust me. What matters is that you can kind of just understand what's in here, memorize a few nuggets so it sounds like you know what you're talking about, and then express it eloquently to your sphere of influence. That's it. So when they announce Jake Breen's teaching stats, yes, I can dive in, and I know Pete's been in classes where I've dove a lot deeper into the MLS and showed you how to extract things. Eric's been in some. Cindy's watched me do it a time or two. I'm glad to do that and help you and teach a man to fish. But the reality is again, that's 10% of it. The 90% of the art is you memorizing a few nuggets and possessing the ability to disseminate what the heck this means to the customer once you know what the customer wants to do. Okay? So this is number one. It's done for you. It's free. Use it. In a minute, I will show you how to use it, or at least how we use it. Do you email it out, Jake? Do you do a video about it? Do you mail it to people? I'll get there. All right. I told you I'd tell you the third P of statistics. This may read backwards to you, but these are chronologically in order of how I suggest you go about educating your clientele or proving a point to someone. Step back, take a breath, and before you go look at numbers, ask yourself, what point am I trying to make? What question has been asked to me? What does this developer want to do and where? Did somebody in general just say, what's the market doing and how am I going to show them that I know what the heck I'm talking about? What's your point? Once you know roughly what your point is, now you go into data gathering. All right, if I'm going to try to make said point, what information do I need to prove that? Back to the two polar opposite things we get, and I get criticized for this often on videos I post on YouTube where I suggest it's a great seller's market, blah, 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 and I go into all this data, and inevitably within 24 hours, someone out there watches the video and says, you slimy realtors, of course you would always say it's an opportune time to sell. Not. You just want the listing. Or you want, I get those comments on my videos. How can it be a great time to buy and also a great time to sell? I'm going to answer that before the class is over. But this you should be able to do in 60 seconds or less. What's been asked of me? What point am I going to try to make? This takes time, but if you just make yourself do it, whether it's using Berkshire Hathaway reports, whether it's diving into the MLS and trying to find data to prove what you want to prove, I promise you, 100% promise you, that there's no other way to get good at this. I can't teach you enough to get good at it, and you will get really good at it really fast if you just dive in and start doing it. 60 seconds or less. When you see some of the emails I do and videos I do, this part now takes me more often than not less than probably 10 minutes. If it's a pretty complicated point I want to prove, I kind of know what I need, and I'm hoping the numbers prove what I want to say. And I go in and gather data. If the numbers don't prove what I want to say, I scratch that point, and I try to rephrase it another way to make the numbers prove my point. Okay? So this should be pretty fast, and everyone in this room can learn this, I know for a fact. This is where proof's in the pudding. How are you going to paint the right picture to prove your point? This is the art form. If you get really good at this, and it can take decades, you will become insanely powerful. Painting pictures. Hello.
Sorry. supposed to push that one.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm leaving it like this because I might need other. I'm going to leave the screen size like this.
Okay.
Thank you, though. So, can you guys see it from the back? I don't need to do full screen, right? Because I might pull up some.
Well, my eyes are kind of old, but.
Okay. I'm not the type that tends to do a boring PowerPoint presentation and then just read my slides, so we'll just talk about it anyways. All right. That's the first 30 minutes. We got 30 minutes left. I'll now go into examples of exactly things I've done. I've cut out email snippets for you to show you. For those of you that have already been in classes of mine before and you think this may be redundant, I will dive into some more complicated reporting I've built for bigger deals, developers, or a luxury listing or whatever. All right. Here are a couple signs of land that I was advising for outside the state of Utah. I do quite a few transactions where I collect a referral fee now because of people I've met around the nation and they know of my capabilities. So this would be a whole new opportunity for you to do business outside of the state, where I just advise, and the realtor that ends up selling it, I collect a referral fee. I collected just over $200,000 in referral fees last year on 19 transactions for advising outside of a state where I don't operate in. Okay, so here's one of them. I was asked. Let's see. Let's hope these hyperlinks work. I was asked, okay, here's these raw pieces of land. What should we build on them? And there was a realtor that was already involved going, let's see this website will pull up. Local listing agent who was working with this guy, and they went, I know this guy, Jake, he could probably answer that question better, kind of does it pencil. So, now he's not on the internet. And you guys have probably gotten similar questions. Let me get David in here real quick.
Not from outside of Utah.
No, not from outside of Utah, but even in a small way. How many in here have in the very early initial stages, at some point in their career, been asked on a land deal, like by a consumer, hey, what if I bought this? Would it make money? What should I build on it? And you're going, ooh, this is outside the realm of the typical listing or buyer. Oh, I don't know. Where do I start? You start with the city. Do you know?
Are you looking for an example?
I'm just wondering if you've had those questions.
I've had a question once where he's like, I'm going to be building something, but I don't know if I should sell them or rent them out.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great one. There's a million questions like that could get thrown at you. What can I build? What would make the most money? What's the highest use for this product? Where I usually start is obviously it's zoning. So that's going to kind of start defining what you need. And if you've never had any experience with that, I'm here to tell you it can be complicated, but most realtors are also scrappy people. And if you have no idea what you're talking about, if you're just kind of scrappy and go to the local municipality, planning and zoning department, you'll be able to find out relatively fast what it can be under current zoning. And don't bother with a rezone right now, at least anywhere in Weber, Davis, Salt Lake, or Utah County. They've gotten insanely harder than the developer that's asking you these questions might think over the last 5 to 10 years. But you can pretty quickly disseminate without a survey and a geotechnical report and all that stuff that this developer is going to have to do to develop this land. You can pretty quickly find out this is what it's zoned as and this is what it could be. Okay? So hopefully David can come in and get my spreadsheet pulled up. But I will do that first and go, okay, at least I know what point I'm trying to prove. I'm going to try to prove to them that this can be, I think this one was, its max capacity was like 23 townhomes. All right, now what? Well,
you just said max capacity was 23 townhomes. How did you find? Did you find that out, or did they tell you?
Yes. sometimes you're going to be working with a client that knows already and they're far down that path and they're like, well, this is what we're building and we know what it's zoned for and all that. But other times when I'm advising, they don't even know, or they may not even have contracted this dirt yet. Okay, so we're going to do two things. One, whoever is asking you this questions, you want to establish that you're an expert, and whether it's this deal or any other deal over the next half century, you want to represent them. It's your opportunity to win this person over. Number two, you want to service this particular transaction and advise them as whether they should do it or not. And so all these other data questions start getting launched at you. Is the price right? What could we build on it? Now, some of you at this point are probably going, Jake, this is way out of my wheelhouse. I just want to work with my sphere of influence and list properties or represent buyers. But I'm here to tell you, even if it's only once a year at this point, if you get the more complicated real estate questions and you can answer them somewhat eloquently, your sphere is going to grow a lot faster. And when there's the playing field of 9,500 other licensed agents in our valley, you step into the top 1%. If you're not there via production, you step up into that top 1% on knowledge basis, and it starts getting you there. So, what I would do is, A, find out quickly what it can be. If they already know, great. If they don't, it's your opportunity to show them you know what the heck you're talking about, simply by calling the city and saying, what's current zoning? Here's the parcel number. What can this be? That's relatively universal around the United States. If you call any municipality, you've done it before, right? Like, yeah, it's annoying to deal with somebody in a planning department, but if you're scrappy, you'll get someone on the phone that can tell you what this piece of dirt could be, and then you're going to report it back to them. Okay? You can then hop in the MLS, and without any real knowledge of development or if this land is priced right, I'm here to tell you anyone in this room can run the simple math. And the simple math goes like this. If the price of this 12 acres is $500,000 and you know the list price, and you've just been told by the municipality they're not going to allow any more than one house per acre, and so you're going, forget engineering and roads and cost of development, forget all that. If you don't know it, that's fine. You're going, at max, there's 12 acres, it could be 12 lots at max. And you're going, the price is $500,000. What do you need to know next to kind of advise this person who's asking? Well, simple math. You just go, well, how much is that per lot? $40,000? Whatever, you run the math, 500,000 divided by 12. Can you get me just internet connected so my hyperlinks work to my Google Drive sheets like those ones? It's just not. I didn't know which one you use. You're good. I'll keep talking. And so, again, I know a lot of you may have expected to dive into the MLS today, but we're talking at the 50,000 foot level. Run simple math in your mind and go, all right, all I need to do is hop in the MLS, run comps in this area, and see what a lot sells for. That's about an acre. You all can do that. Easy. Everyone in this room can do that. Okay? Once you've done that, you've got the simple math. You now know the point and what you want to prove. All right? Now, here comes the art form. I told you the art form's the complicated part. This is how I answered this question for a developer up in Midway, Utah, 3 or 4 years ago that said, Jake, here's the piece of land. We have it under contract. What should we build? Here's what it's zoned for. What should we build? What are the houses going to sell for? Should we go luxury or should we do tract housing? I mean, all those types of questions. I advised them on this. They used a local Midway realtor and not me. So now you're all going, Jake, why did you do all this work for no money? I got paid a referral fee. Best kind of business you can do. I advise, I build a spreadsheet. I do it all from my office here in Cottonwood Heights. I get paid and I don't have to deal with the listing. Okay? And although it may look complicated to you, every single data point you're reading here is me just going to the MLS, grabbing the data, putting it in this spreadsheet. And more than answering his questions, I have fun doing this because I'm trying to answer my own questions. I don't know. Would a development in Midway pencil? What would I build? The simple questions before you even look at the data. I don't know. What's selling up in Midway? If you don't know how to use the statistics tabs in the MLS, it's even easier than that. You can garner most of this statistical information just by doing what you already do every day, which is just search in the MLS. Zip code 84049, Midway. How many townhomes have sold? How many condos? What are absorption rates? How many are active versus how many are under contract versus how many sold in the past year? What's the average price per foot? I like to call it price bracketing because I've learned developers like to see things like this. How many pieces of real estate up there have sold in the 100s, 200s, 300s, 400s, 500s, 600s, 700s, and so on? If we price bracket it up, it's pretty easy for anybody, even with elementary knowledge of the market, to go, yeah, the bulk of new inventory in Midway, this zip code, sells between 300 and 500. Regardless of average price per foot or whatever, if you kind of want to be in the mix of what most consumers are buying up there, you'd quickly want to say, yeah, we're going to step out of the realm of what most people are buying when we go into the 600s up there. So the more you do this, I'm not going to kind of dive way down into the weeds and show you everything I do, but I'm here to tell you if this seems daunting to you, the more you do it, it really becomes easy and fast. It really, really does. And anybody can do it. And the way it becomes faster and easier for you is literally just passion. And numbers may not be passionate for a lot of people, but the story it's telling you can invigorate you with passion. It's, for realtors, this is how I explain it. Do you remember when you first got your license and you first got somewhat capable with diving into the MLS? Were any of you like me and instead of watching TV at night, you surfed the MLS? Right? You're all laughing. You're like, yeah, I did that. That's because you were so excited with the passion to be able to dive into the back end, and now you're not a consumer, you're actually on the in, and you had so much more information in the MLS than the consumer does on Zillow. And so you were doing that at nights just out of hobby and interest. You maybe didn't even have a client, but you're like, hey, I'm going to surf the Cove. What's available? And you're clicking the hyperlinks. You're going, wow, I have a lot of information at my fingertip disposal in the MLS. That same passion applies exactly to this. As you start answering the harder questions, you start going, wow, the MLS is far more powerful than just searching for houses. You can extrapolate and answer almost any question that could ever be thrown at you under the umbrella of being an expert in real estate, just diving into data. Okay, so I kind of built the art form again, little picture of everything that's active, under contract, sold, price bracketed it for them, gave them comps. So this is kind of like a CMA on steroids for a developer. Gave them pictures and examples of kind of the most hot type of selling product for that market. Gave them some takeaways and suggestions for, hey, if this was me buying this land and putting my own money into it, statistically, the data is telling us this is what's most likely to sell and what you should build there. Okay? So one example of how I'll dive in on raw land and prove a point. All right. You may get this fairly often. People say, I don't know, I'm approved for up to 300. I want to be downtown Salt Lake. Should I buy a house or a condo or a townhouse? Okay. What I'm about to show you might be overkill if it's just one buyer asking this question. But since I started getting this question so often, and instead of smoke and mirrors, making up the answers most realtors give, I wanted to statistically prove this. But I didn't put the time into building this spreadsheet until I actually had a developer asking me, I could build condos or townhouses on this site. Which should I do? So this is how we answered that. Let me test you at this point. All right. point, prove, paint. We've just been asked, should we do condos or townhomes? You now know what point we need to make. Before we look at data, just ask yourself, what information would you try to gather, could you maybe even possibly gather, to answer if a developer should build condos or townhomes on a site?
Do a search as to how many condos or townhomes are within a X amount radius?
Yeah, perfect. First answer, well, where's the site? How well are condos selling there? How well are townhomes? Yep, simple question number one. Simple question number two, active inventory. If we jam in another condo project downtown, I don't know, when I drive around in Salt Lake, it looks like hella condos are being built. But guess what? When you go to answer that, as I have done, you'll go, oh wow, most of those are apartments. You answered your own question. Now, you got a double whammy going on. You can speak eloquently about what's going on downtown Salt Lake better than any other realtor and start throwing out some numbers on condos versus apartments versus towns, and then you can also answer this developer's question.
So there's density rules for the city, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So is the city concerned about the density of a building with flats versus townhomes?
Totally.
So they're gonna dictate if you can actually do flats or townhomes.
Perfect. So you're right, but let's go above what you just did and said. By nature of you simply asking this developer, hey, have you talked to the city? What would be your density requirement for condos? How high can you go versus towns? How many units? He's going to go, Eric Jensen knows what the hell he's talking about, and the three other realtors I've talked to don't. Okay? Perfect. All these things. You guys got it already. All you got to do. Now, again, the point and what you're going to prove, pretty easy. We just did it. The art form, gathering the data to paint the picture, is where you can spend a lifetime learning.
Can we just take this one step back for a second?
Yep.
You said cut flats or townhomes.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable telling you I have no idea what you mean by cut flats.
Oh, stacked condos. It's just a slang term they use for them.
Apartments stacked.
Yeah, just condos that are like multiple levels on top of each other, that like a flat roof. It's a slang term they're using right now for like modern downtown flat roofed condo developments.
Okay.
Well, in Europe, they call all like most people live in apartments,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't call them apartments; they're all called flats.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like an apartment. It's just when the
Yep. So, you guys already knew what data to gather, and that's exactly what I did. Okay? So, I popped in the MLS. I said, Salt Lake City condo versus townhome market study. And I just went in and said, how many active condos are there? How many are under contract? And how many sold in the past year? Same thing for towns. And then, although this looks super complicated, and it's going to look very impressive when you take it to the developer, all I really did is plug some information into the MLS. It spit out these pretty reports for me, and I cut and paste them into my online Excel data file that you're looking at.
Jay,
Yep.
do you ever have problems with the category has been input incorrectly into the
Yeah.
MLS?
Yeah. Yep.
That's a huge issue I've come
Yeah.
across.
Yeah, I will. We don't have crazy time, and I'm okay going a little over. If anyone needs to leave, you can. We got 11 minutes left, but I'll stay for a sec. But I'm going to go really fast. But I will jump into the MLS and show you how I quickly pull these reports, cut and paste them, and put them in a spreadsheet, take a screenshot, put them in an email. That, again, is all under the umbrella of the art form. And I promise you guys, just take this today. The only way for you to get good at it is not coming to my classes, not learning from me, none of that. It's you just diving in with your fingertips and getting used to doing it. And you will be shocked. It's exactly as you learned when you first got your license and you became quick and capable at the MLS. Or for those of you that have been at it forever, when WFR MLS switched to Utah Real Estate, you went, oh no, the whole thing's new, and it was slow for a little while, and then you got really fast. I'm very fast, the MLS. Tab, 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 enter. I mean, I almost have it memorized. I know what I'm doing. Same thing with the reports. You get so fast at knowing what you want to pull, grabbing it, having it not error report because you know what you put in, screenshotting it, and then using it however you need to use it. And I use it eloquently in reports, but then I hit print and I'll have the guys print me something and I'll say fire up the green room, and I haven't even looked at it yet. And as I walk down this hallway, I look at it and then I drop it and the camera's filming and I say go. And I speak about in-depth statistics and what the market's doing. But it's not because I'm being arrogant or cocky or cool. I'm telling you, you can take the same pathway and it becomes second nature to you if you just repetitively do it. And there is nothing I've found in Utah or across the nation that makes you stand out more to your clientele than being able to kind of politely educate them. And you would be shocked at the opportunities. It's endless. Almost everything in the media that people gossip about in real estate because it's a popular topic ends up being wrong. Or, I love challenge me on Homey. I can squash all their billboards with data. I just don't have, I'm not on KSL or KUTV talking about it, but put me there and they're going to look like real fools. But most of the rest of the real estate community, I wish I can embolden them with the same talk, because when they get that question, most realtors kind of just try to side skirt it and then prove their value proposition. And I go, oh, well, they're flat out liars, and I'll show you why, and, give them the data. So, again, I know you're going, Jake, I would love to learn how to do this, and wow, that looks super complicated. No, this takes me about 30 minutes to build all this and do a full-blown condos versus townhomes, absorption, what's active, what's selling hotter, what's commanding more price per foot, blah, 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 blah. Think like a developer. Yes, they may be able to fit 30 condos and only 12 towns, but then in their big eloquent master spreadsheet, they're really just saying what maximizes my return. And it's plausible that a townhome, although you can only do 12 of them versus 30, is yielding so much higher of a return based on what they can build it for. But that's their problem. But you can give them all the data they need to know as far as what the market is doing and what new towns are commanding, and if there's a lot less of them than condos, and all those things that they can't get from Zillow, that they don't know how to get. Sophisticated developers are reading the Kem Gardner Institute once a year 50-page Eccles report that comes out. They probably know James Wood quotes better than we do, even though we go to the forecast breakfast. But what they don't know is this down in the weeds information that only you can get. They can't get it. So let's give you a few other quick examples. All right. Let's say forget big deals like that, developments or these types of questions. Or, it might be ostentatious for you to build that type of report for just one client that says, should I buy a condo or a townhome? If you're wondering what to do with your time, I'd still suggest you do it, because you walk through that and learn for yourself, you're going to become emboldened and powerful. But let's just talk your general sphere. How might you not build spreadsheets like that, but just ask yourself, I have a sphere of influence of 50 to 100 people, and I'm wondering what the heck to send them. And I've been in the habit of sending them and posting to my social, like every other realtor does, just listed, or which kitchen would you choose, or here's my favorite baking recipe. Please don't be offended if you're doing that. Keep doing it if it works for you. For me, I want to buck the trend, because I scroll my social, and as I've spoke around the country, I have over 100 realtors in my Instagram feed, and I laugh because it's 99% of the same crap. And I'm like, oh wow, you're really establishing yourself as an expert to your digital sphere. So if you're wondering what I would suggest you do, ask yourself, what's a popular topic or question right now in real estate? Well, in our market, a lot of people, and nationally, are wondering if it's going to go up or go down. They're wondering if we're headed for another crash. They're wondering how much it's gone up in Salt Lake over the last 6 years since the recession ended, and if that's too much. They're wondering if affordability fits in. I mean, you all know this. So just say, hey, what's one popular question? How could I answer it with factual data as opposed to me just regurgitating what I've heard at sales meeting and whatnot? That's it. Start with what point do I want to make and how am I going to prove it? Gather that. Now the art form is how are you going to display it to your sphere and how are you going to do it in an eloquent fashion. I would say video is probably the most eloquent way to do it right now. It's live, it's fun, it's interactive, you can be a little cheeky, whatever. We have a green room here. Really no one uses it but my team. We paid for the equipment. We don't mind if you borrow it. We're building another one down on the 3rd floor that's going to be even cooler. And I've told corporate that they need to have one of the staff be proficient at least turning it on so that my team doesn't have to come do that for you, and we can have a staff member who's doing it. So we will get that working for you. Or honestly,
Fairway has one.
Fairway has one. They'll do it for you if you want to go there, and theirs is legit. My little brother set it up for them, and it's better than ours.
We have a teleprompter too, so it rocks.
Yeah. Teleprompter you can just read. But I even say that if all that is just takes too much time out of your day, it is still okay to just do this, do this, do this, hit video, set it here, and talk to your phone. No one's around, no one's watching you. You can do it 4 times, delete it. That's still high enough quality for a blog post or posting something to your social. Or just saying, hey guys, today's the Salt Lake City market update. Or one of the most frequent questions I get in my business is, or last night I was showing houses and this buyer said, I don't like anything right now. I'll wait for the right house to come along. I am famous for my wait right house to come along videos because I will say something like, and I don't just say it, I show them. I give data and my videos are famous for showing people. So I'll have Deso stand behind me filming me and I'll say, last night I was with these folk. They can go up to 400. East Side Salt Lake, single family home is where they want to be. They'll go anywhere from downtown to Draper. And they've said that it's really a deal killer for them that there's at least a 1-car attached garage. And last night, we once again looked and they said, we're not finding anything. We'll wait for the right house to come along. He'll stand behind me filming me and I'll say, let's see the likelihood of that happening. And then my MLS screen's being filmed, and I will go active, Salt Lake County, 6,000 houses. East Side only, 2,500 houses. Under 400, there's only 312 houses. At least a 1-car garage. Enter 56 houses. I did this yesterday. Those are real numbers. And then I turn back and I look at the camera. Before we even look at said houses, there is a 50,000-foot view down into the weeds for the likelihood of a home you like popping up under 400 East Side single family that has an attached 1-car or more garage. There's only 56 to choose from. Before we click on them, my client has already seen them all. Half of them are junk or need remodeling or on busy streets. So that leaves us with roughly 24. Then I'll click under contract. And 40 homes that fit that search criteria are currently under contract. A little bit of math skills, what does that tell you? Absorption is less than 30 days. So these 24 are likely gone like that, and my buyer's wishing on a prayer that something new will be gorgeous and under 400 and have an attached garage and magically appear on the market and no one will compete with them to buy it. Now, a little caution. If you're speaking to that client, I don't talk like that. I have a nickname. It's the Dream Crusher. Because I will eloquently inform them that them waiting for the right house to come along is not just statistically very unlikely. It ain't gonna happen. But most realtors just kind of say, didn't find one tonight, back to the drawing board. And we waste our freaking time with people that they're not wasting our time. We haven't educated them. they're just following your lead. And if we're like, oh yeah, darn it, yep, don't get discouraged. The right one will come along. You're doing them and you a disservice. People can resonate with good education data and numbers. You don't have to take them all the way through the finish line and be like, it ain't gonna happen. You show them 90% of that data and then they're like, oh, you're right. And then you can add on top of that, oh, and if we talk appreciation and interest rates, the best deal you're gonna get is to go back to these 24 that you said you weren't okay with and pick one or two or three. Let's write some offers. That's if you're speaking directly to them. If you're filming a video, you're speaking to your sphere, you haven't named the name of last night's buyer that did this, you can be a little cheeky and you can do what I just did. People will like it. They'll go, oh wow, I love when a salesperson just says it like it is and says, yeah, I didn't have the heart to crush my client's dreams last night, but the reality is it ain't gonna happen. They're not gonna wait long enough for this to come up. So I'm gonna send you guys this presentation, so if you want to dive deeper, you can click these little hyperlinks and you can watch my videos and see how I do that, what I say, or just write this down really quick. Just go to our YouTube channel. If you just go to youtube.com and just type in Utah Cribs, we're the first one that comes up with our logo. And that's probably the most powerful way. Our videos are well organized into playlists. You can steal my videos if you want. You can either copy me, or you can, if you don't want to spend any time, other agents in here do this. They just say, hey, this is someone on our executive team or one of our brokers that really knows about the market. And in most of them, I'm not necessarily speaking as Cribs, I'm speaking as Berkshire Hathaway or whatnot. And the agents that have told me that they use my videos have said their clients don't think it's weird that it's me answering their questions. So if you want to just cut and paste the links, you feel free to use it in my videos. I have an 8-series education area where I go over all the parts of the REPC and break it down in 8 videos. Here's the other trick of the trade. The longer you exist in this business, the more you find that you get the same questions over and over and over. If you get the same question in one way, shape, or form more than 10 times, make yourself a note and film a video of you answering it the best way you can answer it. That is way more powerful and saves you a lot of future time in trying to re-answer it and re-answer it and re-answer it. Then you can just say, watch this. The more videos you get in your library of you doing that and you remember you filmed them, the more powerful your emails and texts become. Because instead of you giving these big, I'm on the fly, here's an answer to your question, or let me give you a call later tonight, and your client's kind of like, ugh, I don't really want to talk to you. I just sent you a text. Can't you answer it? And you're like, yeah, but I need to explain it to you. It's more complicated. No. This is another hour-long class on communication, so I won't dive into it. But if your client is reaching out to you through a certain pathway of communication, reply to them in that pathway of communication, especially if they're 40 or under. If they emailed or text you, reply with email or text. You're going to rub them wrong by going, I'll give you a call a little bit later. They're going to be like, oh man, I'm tired of doing this. So film yourself. Then you can just say, yep, no problem. Here's an answer, hyperlink. I answer this quite often. Here's a video of me answering that question. You're going to look like an absolute rock star when you do that. And I have emails now. I think I maybe had a couple snippets in here where I'm answering long or complicated questions with a little bit of type and then hyperlink, little bit of type, hyperlink, video. And then they're just like, whoa. I mean, I'm still down in the trenches like you guys are. I have a first-time home buyer last week, and I have a saying that goes, first-time home buyers have to burn one to get serious. Yeah. So they have to fall in love with something, not act fast enough, find out it's gone, and then they get serious. So they burned one Monday night, and then Tuesday came what I knew would come, their big series of questions. Well, if we write more than one offer at once, are we committed to all these? And do we have to write out a bunch of earnest money checks? And how fast is that cash when we don't have this much money? And I said, stop, let me put your mind at ease. This is Nordstrom's. You can write tons of offers and get 50 shirts and try them all on and take them back the next day. You are not committed. And that took me 10 seconds to type. And then I said, video, due diligence, hyperlink. Here I am answering these questions far more eloquently. Watch this. So I could answer them in depth with data and statistics, but it only took me 60 seconds to answer that email instead of them, that one buyer, taking my whole morning. And no phone call. And within 10 minutes, they reply, man, you're freaking rock star. Great. We'll do whatever you say. And Jamie's showing them tonight, and now they're already willing to write blind offers. And you know the typical first-time home buyer. It's like you got to go through the trenches with them forever to then finally get to the point that they believe you, they'll write offers fast, they're not signing in blood. But you can embolden them quickly and remove those doubts and then get them to operate fast.
Jake, do you
Yes.
have a video about when people basically say it's just so expensive now, they put away?
I have lots. That's one of my favorite questions to answer. Yeah, feel free to take off. I'll email you, go to the YouTube channel, and copy your still videos. That's your lowest hanging fruit. I do. I mean, that simple question gets complicated based on lots of factors. But again, you want to first kind of find out what they're trying to do, why they're asking you that, and then tailor your answer with data according to what they want to do. So, for example, if someone says that, you kind of got to go, well, are they a buyer or a seller or both? Are they moving out of Salt Lake or staying here? Here's my elevator pitch that I'll back up with data on that question that I get fairly often once I find out that, let's say they're an engineer. An engineer will have their own spreadsheet built that'll be far better than mine, and they will have already been tracking when's the top month to sell my house and when am I going to get the most out of it and blah, 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 blah. And back to, you're going to politely disagree with them to show them you know what you're talking about. Here's my favorite thing to do with super smart data people, because I know they can out spreadsheet me. And if I go into numbers, they're going to probably know stuff better than I do. More often than not, I find out they're moving, they're staying in the same market, and they maybe want to upgrade or downgrade a little. That's the case with most of our clientele. So if I probe a few questions and that's what they're trying to do, and they're trying to time the market, and they're telling me when's the best, and they're saying, oh, you comped it, your CMA says 675, but I read this and I read that, and I'm going to put it at 750, and here's my kind of quick elevator pitch. I go, well, when this sells, you're buying something else, right? Well, yeah, but I'm not in a rush, and I'm going to make sure I get top dollar on this one. Okay. You planning on renting when this sells? No. I'm going to buy a house. Most are, right? Well, would you be willing to rent to then go time this supposed bubble you think will hit? Because no one has a crystal ball. I mean, Warren Buffett couldn't predict the crash. No one's ever predicted them spot on. But we could use some data to kind of get an idea. Markets are cyclical, no doubt about it. Sometime in the next 1 to 5, we have a softening. But let's statistically define that. And I can talk eloquently about that. But the bigger point is I go, most people will go, no, I'm not going to rent and try and time it. Then I go, this is your personal house with your wife or kids and family. Does it matter? They go, heck yeah, it matters. Every dollar I can net. I say, great. Then if we sell yours at the opportune, perfect, top of the bubble time, and you're going to turn around and buy in the same market, you didn't do what everyone says, which is actually a total idiotic fallacy. Sell high, buy low, or buy low, sell high. Yeah, that's the stupidest real estate saying I've ever heard. It's a lateral move. You're going to sell high, and if you need to turn around and buy to supply your family with a home, you're buying high. And if you're selling low, you're buying low. Unless you're going to be one of the crazies that's like, okay, market's up, I'm selling my personal primary residence, moving into a rental, and waiting until there's some sort of crash. All right? What are your statistical chances of having a significant crash? It's only happened once ever in recorded statistical time frame of our market, which is a 48-year history. 2008 to 2012 was our statistical recession if you're defining that based on median price drop in Salt Lake County. We went from a median price of $267 to $190. That's a 34% decrease. We know luxury was worse. We know lower end housing was a little bit better. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't sell my house, move into a rental, and cross my fingers on a wish and a prayer that happened once again in a century. And if I did, and all the stars aligned, it was 34%, and when it rebounded, it was erased in 2.5 years. The entire 34% decline was erased by mid-2014. You got to time it perfect. And no one has a crystal ball. Now, as your trusted advisor, I can help you try to sell yours for top dollar and get a great buy in this market on what you want to move to. But buy low, sell high, and all of a sudden, you're just a rock star to this person. They're literally like, you just took one of the most famous real estate sayings and turned it on its head. I got another one for you. Location, location, location. Bull crap. Location, location, location. If it's where you want to live, I live right over here. I don't want to live in Kearns. Are you talking primary residence? Yes. Location, location, location. You talking investment? Buying a POS in Kearns for $65,000 at the bottom of 2011 yielded you a better return than my primary residence in Cottonwood Heights. You made a better statistical return on your money doing that, buying in the hood. There's a lot of data reasons why. 1, it's cheaper real estate. 2, it rebounded faster. 3, there's a lot more people, about 76% of everything that sells in our market is at median price or under. So if a market crashes, you're going to make a better investment buying anything under median price just because there's a bigger buyer pool when it rebounds. And that's the real estate everyone needs to get into. Okay? I'm only going off on these tangents to show all of you that I promise you, take the long tail approach with your businesses. A lot of the other stuff is smoke and mirrors. Don't buy internet leads. I mean, make your social look good for fostering you and the knowledge you have to your sphere of influence. Over time, as people you know realize that you really know what you're talking about, nothing else will garner you more business, and it's easy business. What do I mean by easy business? Believe me, we're good at it. My team, we're young, tech savvy. Landing an internet lead versus having someone in your trusted sphere say, I want to sell again, where do I sign? Is way easier business. It's the long tail approach, though. It takes a long time. But I know it for a fact that if you just take the time to kind of dive in and answer your own questions you have about real estate and data, it becomes fun again, and then you'll be able to speak about it eloquently. Okay? So YouTube channel, and then Angie, can I send you this whole presentation and you kind of send it out to everyone that's here? And
We could put it on our marketing, in our intranet.
Yep.
In our teaching,
Perfect.
our coaching series.
Yep, we'll do that, and then it's all recorded, so I'll have David, kind of splice it up and edit it, and then get it to you guys, and so you can refer back to everything on the video too. Thanks for coming, guys. Hope it helps.